First, let's say good afternoon to all of you, and it's a real pleasure to be back here at Community College. I'm a graduate of Community College on 11th Street, where it was at the old department store. One of the things that I think is very important in this day and age is the theme that Community College has called a path to the possibilities. A path to the possibilities. What prevents that path to the possibilities in this city is two basic issues. One, the issue of public safety, and secondly, the issue of education. In order to move this city forward, this must be a safe city. And it must be safe because when you begin to look at growing the economy and generating jobs, what prevents that path of possibilities? The number of shootings and violence that has occurred in our city. We cannot move every single neighborhood forward unless it is a safe city. The other aspect of it is, do we have an education system that is meeting the needs of all of our children? If we're going to talk about the path to the possibilities, a proper educated, quality school system is very important to move kids forward. So it is essential that we have leadership in Harrisburg, or leadership here in Philadelphia, or leadership in Washington that understands how to bring people together. I believe I'm the one to be able to do it. I have the experience and the know-how, and I believe that I offer the kind of leadership that is necessary in the city. Look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. I do really have a point of view on it, and I'd like to talk from the perspective of the question of poverty. We as a city have 25% of our people in poverty, and in government we continue to push people in that particular direction. There's no question that people who are on health care do need an increase in terms of their pension. It's been a long time since city workers have received a pension increase. However, the fact is I do not believe that Councilman Jim Kenny's bill is the direction to go. I sit on the teachers' pension fund in Harrisburg and have been on that fund for the last 15 years. So first, it is a question of how the pension fund is managed. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think that when we look at this particular pension fund, there's no way you can afford an automatic cost of living increase based on what the contribution rates are at this particular point. But the question is, how do you make it so that you don't continue to push people into the question of issue of poverty? And that's basically what's happening right now, people receive an increase. Let's talk about health care. Health care, because the federal government has not taken its responsibility to deal with the issue of health care, basically it's been left up to all of the states. California, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, and now Governor Rendell has come out with a health care initiative. What I think needs to happen with the city is there needs to be a discussion between the city and the state on the question of how we have a seamless strategy around it. There is no way that the city has the base by itself. So you have to broaden the base. So there needs to be some sort of a partnership between the city and the state in terms of addressing the needs. When you look at the question of pension and health care, you need to understand that you continue to drive more people into poverty. One way or the other, taxpayers pay for it. They either pay for it in the emergency room when people go there, or if people don't get raises in their pensions, in the case of city workers, we pay for it the other way. So we need to have what I call some straight talk about what's the best way to deal with it. The city doesn't have the financial capacity by itself. So we need to form partnerships in the case with the state. We need to work out with Governor Rendell in terms of how can we in some way incorporate our overall health strategies program. Community college has demonstrated in the past, and I'd like to keep building on the future, in an initiative that we put together called FAME, that basically build on the fact of manufacturing. We can, as a country, move the issue of manufacturing. We have not moved it in the way we need to. Community college has the skill set. I started an initiative along with Crown Cork and Seal that we put a partnership to FAME. Now, it didn't go out developed the way I would like to. Eventually, we moved it to Martin Luther King High School. But in terms of niches, community college has the ability to focus on building in the aspect of manufacturing. That is an industry that can become a career ladder. Most people think that it has disappeared in this country. It has not disappeared. If you go to Martin Luther King High School, we're building that initiative right now that can move in the direction of manufacturing. I've done that with community college. That's something I'd like to build on in the future. Predictable funding stream to mass transit so that we can make the necessary investment, because there's a direct connection between the way mass transit grows and what grows in our city and our region. So first thing we have to have that. The second thing is mass transit was created in the 1960s. The mass transit system we have, in my view, is not necessarily relevant to where we are in the 21st century. It was a system that was somewhat thrown together because the PTC, which was a private system, didn't work in transit. So we need to rethink how we deliver mass transit today. We need to look at how we deliver. Secondly, we need to talk about things like transit development, make a direct connection when we grow and develop things that there's transit development. But a great deal of it is how that system is designed. Now, there's no question the stations should be clean and we should have accountability on that. There's no question that we should make sure that it's safe and secure. But fundamentally, we need to have a predictable funding source, and in my particular view, that starts out with a combination of the state and the federal government. On one hand, we raise the minimum wage at the state level, and we give people an increase, and then at the city level, we ask for a $100 million gas increase. On one rate, we raise the minimum wage at the state level, and then on the other hand, we ask for $100 million from PTW, which would be $156 per household. So if you want to talk about keeping people living, it has to be affordability. We have to find ways to reduce the cost for individuals. Now, you can't raise the minimum wage on one hand and then talk about gas rate increases on the other hand, because that's poor leadership. What happened is, in the last 15, 20 years, because the gas works has not been fixed, because lack of political leadership, that fundamentally when we raise minimum wage, you continue to drive people into poverty. They can't afford it. You can't on one hand talk about abatements, on one hand that does condominiums, and then on the other hand give people a wage increase and then they can't afford rents or houses. You can't, you got to have much more of a balanced approach with that. You can't push people out into the street in terms of driving more into homelessness. So there needs to be a much more critical balance in terms of the local policies. This is why I'm going to close with this. Look, I think that the city's at a point where we have to do some fundamental restructuring. We cannot continue business as usual. We got to have open, transparent government. It can't be for the few. The vast majority of people, when we talk about community college, to be honest with you, community college should be free. Community college should be free. If you want to grow a middle class and you want to move people out of poverty, community college really needs to be free. So if you ask the best thing to keep people here, the best thing would be is having these doors free. So that means city government, state government, and federal government. So when you ask the question, when you say not shifting it to Harrisburg or to Washington, they got obligation and responsibility. I mean, unless we plan on becoming Iraq.
Never know. Representative.